Have you ever wondered how it all began? Not just your life, but the entire universe? What existed before time, before matter, before anything we can possibly imagine? The answer most widely accepted by science might surprise you. Before everything, there was nothing. But here's the key, that nothing wasn't truly empty. What we call nothing is, in fact, a field full of invisible energy, a space where particles appear and vanish in fractions of a second, as if the universe itself were breathing. This is the starting point. The moment time and space were born, and energy began to take shape. Now, consider this. Those particles that emerged from the void carried something crucial. They weren't just tiny bits of matter. They carried information. It's as though from the very beginning, the universe was programmed to create, organize, and transform. And that's exactly what happened. The initial chaos began to structure itself. Particles formed atoms. Atoms bonded to create molecules. And billions of years later, here we are. You are here. But this isn't just a story about the physical universe. It's also a story about the mind, about how information shapes not only particles, but also our beliefs, our thoughts, and the way we perceive ourselves, what we call the self. So let's embark on a journey together. Let's go back to the very beginning, to the void that wasn't empty, and follow the path of information. Because in understanding this journey, we may uncover something essential about who we really are. Imagine, for a moment, absolute nothingness. Not just an empty space, but the absence of everything, no time, no light, no form. And yet, this nothingness isn't what it seems. Modern science reveals that this nothing is, in fact, an invisible field full of potential, a space where everything that exists was dormant, waiting to awaken. This is the starting point, the quantum void. A state where particles flicker in and out of existence in the blink of an eye, like sparks in a storm. These particles aren't random. They follow laws and patterns, like a code that organizes creation. And from this invisible field, energy exploded in every direction. The universe was born. In that instant, time began to tick. Space began to expand. The pure energy started to transform. Particles appeared, and with them, something extraordinary, the possibility of creation. But it was all still chaotic, like a stormy sea. Each particle carried information, a kind of memory that guided its interactions. This information allowed atoms to form, molecules to connect, and eventually brought us to this moment. Now think about this. Every atom in your body, every molecule that makes up who you are, was once part of a star. Everything you are, your skin, your bones, your blood, was forged in the heart of stars that lived and died billions of years ago. You carry within you the memory of the universe. But this isn't just a story about atoms and stars. While the physical universe was organizing itself, something else was happening. The information that began in the void didn't stop evolving. Over billions of years, it gave rise to life, not just as bodies made of matter, but as conscious beings. And this is where the story gets even more fascinating. In a small corner of the universe, on a planet with just the right conditions, molecules began to organize in unique ways. What seemed like inert matter started to self-replicate. This was the beginning of life as we know it. Simple, yet functional. And once again, information was at the center of it all. It was at this moment that DNA was born, a chemical code that carries the instructions for building and sustaining all living beings. DNA is more than just molecules. It's a record, a book of life, where every sequence is a word, a sentence, a chapter. This code has been copied, modified, and refined over billions of years. Every detail of your body, your eyes, your skin, your organs, was shaped by this biological information passed down through the ages. But life isn't just made of biological information. Just as DNA carries the code of life, our minds carry another kind of information. Stories, beliefs, and experiences. These mental patterns shape who we believe we are. And like DNA, this information has been passed down generation after generation. As life evolved, something new emerged. The mind. The first humans began to experience something no other species had felt before, self-awareness, the ability to perceive themselves as individuals, separate from the world around them. And this is where the concept of the self was born. But this self didn't come from nowhere. It's the result of accumulated information. From the moment we're born, our minds start absorbing everything around us: language, stories, beliefs, and the values of our society. Over time, this information forms an identity, a sense of who we are. But is this self really who we are? Think about it. What you believe yourself to be, your personality, your fears, your desires, was shaped by your environment. From childhood, you've been conditioned by your family, your culture, and your experiences. All of this created a narrative, a story you tell yourself about who you are. But what if that story isn't the truth? Just as DNA is a biological code, the self is a psychological code. It's a construct, a collection of inherited and accumulated information. But here's the question: are you only this code? Or is there something within you that exists beyond it? Something that has always been there from the very beginning? And this is where the journey connects back to the void. Just as the universe emerged from the quantum void, perhaps within us there's a similar space, a place where there are no beliefs, no stories, no conditioning, just pure consciousness silently observing everything. To access this space, we don't need to fight our thoughts or suppress our emotions. Instead, we need to observe them. This is the key: observation without judgment. When you simply watch your thoughts, your emotions, and even your actions, something extraordinary happens. You begin to see the patterns. You start to understand why you think the way you think, why you feel the way you feel, and why you act the way you act. It's not about trying to figure out what you should do or which path to take. It's about understanding the motivations behind your decisions. Why do you choose what you choose? Why do you react the way you do? Like Neo in the Matrix, the real power doesn't come from knowing which path is correct. It comes from understanding the system itself. Once you see the patterns of your conditioning, you realize that you are not bound by them. You can rewrite them. Look at your life. How often do you find yourself repeating the same thoughts, the same reactions, the same fears? It's not your fault. These are the effects of conditioning, patterns your mind has followed automatically for years. But here's the truth. You are not your patterns. You are the consciousness that observes them. When you observe your thoughts and emotions without judgment, you create a space between you and them. In that space, you find freedom. You realize that thoughts are just thoughts, emotions are just emotions. They come and they go, but you remain. You are the silent, infinite witness behind it all. And as you begin to see through your conditioning, something changes. You stop reacting automatically. You start responding consciously. You start making choices not based on fear, but on clarity. You stop asking, "What should I do?" and start asking, "Why do I feel compelled to act this way?" This understanding is what sets you free. So the next time a thought or emotion tries to control you, remember this: you are not your stories. You are not your fears. You are not your conditioning. You are the void that isn't empty. You are the consciousness that has witnessed everything from the birth of the universe to this very moment. And just as the universe created stars, planets, and life, you too can create. You are not bound by the programming you inherited. You can choose, you can transform, because you are the infinite consciousness, silent, complete, and beyond all limitations. You do not need to learn or evolve, for you are already whole. It is not about becoming something, it is about remembering what you have always been, and your journey back to this realization starts now. The matrix is complex, but each of us holds a part of the solution. Drop your thoughts in the comments, and together we'll see beyond appearances.